Hi guys, and welcome back to the Friday Night Social. It is still Friday the 17th of July. Yes, just double checking there. It is. It's not nowhere near midnight yet, so we're all right. We're doing well. And if you haven't checked part one out, go and have a look at part one when we talk about the Bournemouth game. We talk all about the youth. Have they got a pathway through? And also our team lineups and score predictions for the big semi-final on Saturday early evening down at the Etihad South against Arsenal. So what we're going to do, part two, we're going to talk a little bit about UEFA. Now, as we all know, there was a CAS decision went our way. We were proved innocent. We didn't get away with it. We were proved innocent on Monday, even though some journalists will still say we got fined £10 million because of rule regulation 56 or whatever it is. If you actually look at the rule and the regulation, it is to do with not complying with the parties involved. It's nothing to do with breaking FFP regulations. It's to do with not communicating with UEFA basically, and that's why we got fined £10 million. Nothing to do with FFP breakage or anything like that. So if anyone's watching, please get your facts straight before you quote. Not mentioning any people's names who have a bald head. Anyway, swiftly moving on. And then we're going to talk about transfers. So, as we know, Monday came out that City were found innocent. And then on Monday, apparently, it's come out since that our chairman, Khaldoon, went and had a meeting with the UEFA president, whatever his name is, Saffron. Not Saffron, as someone said I would call him, Saffron. And it was kind of a peace talk, apparently. It was a, listen, guys, let's see if we can build some bridges. We need to stop all this silliness. You know, and Saffron was apparently, we want to be your friend. We don't want to be your enemy. We're not against you. Is this a way forward? Is this nonsense going to stop? Let's start with Chris. What do you think about it, buddy?
Well, whether we've gone and done peace talks or not, I'm not sure. I think Khaldoon had to go over there. I think it's probably the right thing to do to go in to go into talks with them. But I think he needs to be pretty straight with them. So the witch hunt needs to stop, and the cartel clubs need to have less influence on UEFA business. Now, for Seferin to do that, that's going to be a harder thing to do than just carry on as it's been. I think it definitely was the way we should have gone. We'll see, mate. I think we still got a hell of a fight on our hands. You've seen it. I've seen it. We've all seen it. You know, the social media is still full of negativity towards City. It's a smear campaign. It's been going on for a decade. You know, it's disgusting. I saw a City fan, just a normal. You know, I don't think he's on any sort of, you know, just a normal City fan like we all are. And he just put at the end of his tweet, he put down, "We are sick of it," and I am completely sick of this constantly, you know, being put on trial for things, you know, that I trust our club. I trust our people at the top. I don't think City are cheating. I think we might push boundaries, but I don't think we're pushing boundaries any more than anyone else is. I think it's disgusting. I'm not talking about being friends with UEFA. We don't want favours from them. You know, they could have done us a favour a long time ago. I think the war isn't with UEFA. I think the war's with Liverpool and other cartel clubs, but Liverpool in particular seem to have a real bee in their bonnet with City, and I'm sure there's reasons behind that.
What do you mean? You want to elaborate on that?
Well, yeah, I think that COVID will have a major impact on a lot of team spending power, and I think that is Liverpool. I think it's most teams actually who are going to struggle to have transfer funds. Clubs like ourselves and Chelsea probably less so. I think we'll probably be able to go and do, you know, similar sort of spending as we have in the past. And I think that's what scares Liverpool. I think they see that if City had had that 2-year ban, they would have had a period of dominance. And now that's been sort of diminished, and by the fact that we'll probably be able to bring in better players, close the gap on them, and let's face it, we're not far behind them. We're not far at all, So I think that's what it boils down to, mate.
Carl, what do you think, buddy?
Yeah, if anyone thinks that we're 23 points or 20 points behind Liverpool, and that's a real gap, they're delusional. Because they all know that we're not that far behind given a few signings. And that's why you see all this noise coming out of Anfield and coming out of the cartel club, because they get concerned that given the chance that City have and the finances and the infrastructure, we will be competitive for the next couple of years. And I think that at this point in time, it's time for us to start playing the politics with UEFA, right? Figure out how to get more influential with UEFA. Figure out how to be part of the gang, but still be clean, but be part of the gang. That's how you survive in the 21st century, is that you make friends where you need to make friends, right? And you create your boundaries. Because the cartel clubs, they know that this is a force, not just within Manchester. Think about the CFG. Think about the US, Australia, Asia, South America. We have clubs all over the whole place. And so they're trying to stop this growth of this group, and they'll do whatever they can. But I think it's time for us to play the politics behind this and figure out a way to make peace if we can and move forward.
So some great points there from Carl. Alan, what do you think, mate?
Well, to be honest with you, I thought that Carl Doon had to have conversations with Saffron, definitely. There comes to a point where you've got to clear the air, all right? And I think they needed to clear the air because it got to a point where City were not communicating with UEFA because they didn't respect them.
Well, that's
that
what
clearly.
I thought.
Yeah,
there's no communication.
Well, they had to. You've got to keep your enemies closer. That way, you understand them and know what they're going to be doing. And I'm not saying City are going to be friends with UEFA. I don't think UEFA want to be friends with City, to be honest with you. But there has to be a common ground there where there is communication is open. I think a clearing of the air was needed. I agree with Chris on the Liverpool point. I think the cartel clubs have far too much influence within UEFA, and I think they were under a tremendous pressure from the cartel clubs to ban us. I think everyone expected a ban because of the amount of pressure that was put on, and the one thing that really wound me up was the trial by media for 2.5 years. So that's why everybody in the was expecting City to get banned for at least a year, maybe 2 years. Yeah. And when it didn't happen, because legally it didn't happen, I think opposition fans were angry, and I think that's why you got the actual the feedback from the public has been, and the reporters, has been a tirade of abuse towards us. But as far as Khaldoon is concerned, I think we have to speak to them. We have to talk to them, because there are things that we have to agree with them moving forward. It's no good just being an enemy with them, because otherwise they're going to keep on coming back. But as far as the clubs in England putting pressure on, the 8 clubs, I think Liverpool are right behind all of it, to be honest with you. I'm convinced.
I don't want it to be it's all Liverpool, because I think United,
Yeah.
It's not just Liverpool. Please don't think we're just singling out Liverpool here. We're not. It is United as well. It is.
It's not Arsenal.
Well, I think you should speak to Carl before you say that, Martin. And Carl obviously knows more about FSG than we do, and their tactics in America.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but I know United have played a very big part in this as well.
Not as vocal, are they?
No. I'll give them that. They're not as vocal. But you made a very good point, Alan. Trial by media.
Massively.
And we're going to name, you got Duncan Castles, who said City have still been done. You had Jose Mourinho, who is basically shell-shocked at the decision. Klopp, it's a bad day for football. it's been City got found innocent. This is what amazes me. We still got found innocent, and they are still coming after us, having a go. They're not giving up. And I made a point, I think is it last week, the week before, on one of these socials. Young Tom, who comes on, he's absolutely brilliant, man, for the channel, does some great contributions. He said, well, I can't wait to clear our name with everyone. People can't call us cheats anymore. And I said, they'll call us cheats and everything, and they'll go even stronger. And they have. They really, really have. It's like everyone hates us. And that's fine. I don't mind being the new Millwall or everyone else who everyone hates. But I remember when City were the club that everyone wanted to win a trophy. This is where Newcastle fans need to take heed here, is you are everyone's second club until you become competition. The minute you become a rival, the whole game changes completely. You're there to be shot at, and the more trophies you win, the more the hatred gets ramped up. So that's just a little warning for the Newcastle fans if this takeover does eventually get done. But Carl, obviously you're in America.
This is how they operate, right? This is exactly what they do, right? We're familiar with the way they operate here in the U.S. with baseball, right? It's you basically use the media to generate whatever news stories or negative press you want about a club. This is what they do. This is how they operate. So it doesn't surprise me. What I'm concerned about is at some point City will break into that club. It's going to happen with success, right? Are we going to now be like them when we get in that club? Right, that's what I'm concerned about. Do we now become part of the cartel and then begin to act the way they do? I'm hoping we won't, but that's kind of where the fans come into play, right? The fans shouldn't allow that kind of behavior, if we do get in, to become a part of what we do as a club, as a whole, because the legacy of the club is one of hard work, integrity, fans who love the club, whether they're on top or at the bottom. So it has to be that way.
Carl, sorry to interrupt. What do you mean by eventually we will get in?
Time and pressure. You keep winning, you keep winning, you keep winning. At some point, they will say, you know what, this is okay. Come into the club, come into the fold, come into the gang. It's going to happen. It happens in life. When you get to a point where you're so big, you're too big to fail, too big to ignore, they accept it. The question is, are we now going to be like these clubs going forward to other clubs like Newcastle, who are looking to break into the elite?
Yeah. My only thing on that, to play devil's advocate again, is catching United and Liverpool. It'd be great. Is it ever realistically possible to get as big as them?
Here's why I say it's possible. When you say big maybe in terms of fan base, maybe not now, but I tell you right now, across the whole world, the City fan base is growing. And success adds more fans. Every year adds more fans and more fans and more fans. Maybe in 5, maybe in 10 years' time, the whole dynamics of who's big and who's small, right, changes. Look at AC Milan today. Still have great fans, but the rate of acquisition of new customers is not the same as Man City at this point in time, or even Wolves. And so success generates success, creates a bigger club, creates more awareness, creates a bigger fan base across the whole world. And at some point, whether 5 or 10 years' time, you will see a new dynamic in terms of fan base across the whole world. Because the young people are signing on.
I appreciate that, the fans. Yeah. I'm just thinking of, is it ever going to be realistic to close that 20, 30-year gap on titles and...
No, absolutely not. I mean, because the baseline...
You're in America and they are the New York Yankees.
Right. So in America, you have, for example, the Washington Redskins, right? They used to win titles a lot, right? You have the Dallas Cowboys. But who's been winning leagues for the past 5 years? New England Patriots, right? Yeah. And they're getting the fan base, and they're getting the titles, and they're getting all the admiration. Things change, Martin. Success breeds acquisition of customers. That's what's going to end up happening if we keep winning. So I think the long-term plan of the CFG is not just today, with the investment from Silver Lake and from the Chinese. It's about the future. It's about 5, 10, 15, 20 years' time, where things will be completely different.
Yeah. I mean, I've said this to my son. My son's only young, and I've said, the City now is miles ahead of where the City I had. And the City City in 20 years will not be the same as what City are the way they're going. It's not good.
Martin, you've got to remember that we lost probably 2 generations of City fans when we were that really bad financial problem times. We were down in the dumps. United were winning everything at that time. So every kid going to school was a United fan. They didn't want to support City. So we lost 2 generations there. And it's going to take probably 30 years of sustained growth at City to get not just the fans back, but grow it around the world. I'll give you an example. I live in Melbourne here, and I was shocked how many Liverpool fans there are here. They dwarf anybody else, even United, dwarf it. All right, every time you speak to someone, they're a Liverpool fan, and it comes from the generation Italians, Greeks, Liverpool 70s when they were dominated in Europe, 70s and 80s when they were dominating Europe. So everyone followed all the European Aussies, the Greeks, which is a lot of them, Italians, which is a lot of them, Croatians, are all Liverpool fans. None of them are United fans. They're all Liverpool fans. And there's literally thousands of them. And I said to him, one of it was Craig Johnston, I think initially, and then Harry Kewell helps as well. But they're all fanatical Liverpool, even though they've not done anything for 30 years apart from this year. And they follow them fanatically, and they see City as they follow the headlines of the newspapers because the media create this situation for City. They see Arabs that bought the title. They see all these things on social media and the media, so straight away they're against Man City immediately. And I'll give you another example of the trial by media. The day after we won the treble, or the quadruples, I like to call it, as Pat would call it. The day after, headlines in the New York Times was this whole situation with they've been cheating from the New York Times. It was spilled out from the American press. Yeah. And the paper was owned by FSG.
Yeah.
So he's just given an example there where he said, they know exactly what they're doing. It was the day after we won everything. The day after. Yeah. It ruined my week because I should have been celebrating every single day that week. But I didn't because I was absolutely petrified of what was going to happen. And you're not telling me that the club from Merseyside weren't behind that, or I should say the owners of FSG weren't behind it, because they were.
Well, I will say one thing. If you ever look a negative story to do with FFP or to do with anything negative Manchester City, it's always when we've either gone top of the league or got to a cup final or when it's to the semi-final or something. It always follows the next morning. You are guaranteed a negative story to take the gloss off anything that City ever do. And you can go back through the last 2 or 3 years and you look at the dates we've won trophies, got to finals, done anything. You look at the next day, the paper the next day.
I know. But that one about that after we won the treble was horrendous, in my opinion. Every paper had it in 2 days, and it hurts. But I also think it's slightly racial as well, against the Arabs and their religion. Okay. The amount of comments I get from Tottenham fans, Liverpool fans, United fans are a slur against the Arab nations, and that's pure racism. And I don't like it. They do. It's all right saying that, but they never do it on the press. But the public do it.
No, I understand what you're saying, but PSG don't get it.
Well, we don't hear about it, mate. Because we're in England, they're in French. They speak French.
Yeah, but what I mean is, we don't get English clubs over there going against PSG, for example. They always say what PSG are doing in the building and everything else.
Yeah, because the French league is a farmers' league, right? And think about it. And who else is there? It's like one club that dominates the whole league. They're not a threat. They're not a threat. In England, right, the home of football, the mother of football. You know, you want to have a certain group own a club that traditionally, have not achieved this level of performance, and now they're the kings of England. It's not the established order. The established order is to have Salford and Merseyside, Red Side, on top of the league, and maybe Arsenal can do once in a while can do a couple of things, but that's what they want. That's what they grew up on. That's what they grew up on as kids. That's what they dream about as kids. That's what they had on their walls as kids. And now you have this club from Manchester in blue, throwing disruption the whole thing. Nobody likes a disruptor. No one. It upsets the whole status quo.
Chelsea got the same sort of stick when they were dominant.
Yeah.
And everyone gave them a load of stick. They did.
I think they got this much stick, though.
Pardon?
I don't think they got this much.
But I won't say from the press, because the press have jumped onto this whole cheating UEFA investigation scenario. Let's be honest. As soon as the New York Times had put that out, it got really, really messy, and it did get messy. As far as Calhoun doing what he did, I completely agree with what he did, and that shows how much class he's got. He's by far the best chairman we've ever had. When I spoke to you the other night on it, and you give me some stick about it. When I see his end of season reviews, I sit there with a massive smile and pride.
Yeah.
But I won't say what I'm going to say on the phone. But No, exactly. So the guy is massively impressive.
Martin,
and every one of us must think when you hear him talk the way he does about the club and what he wants to move. What there's always a next agenda moving with him. What he needs to do, what we need to do, there's always something, another goal that they need to do.
It's an actual planning tip. It's a plan.
Yeah,
it's a plan. It's a plan. And they've always forward planned. They make mistakes. They made a mistake about Vinny. But as a club, how can you argue what our owners have done? And this is what the media don't like, because they say, "My God, City have gone from a big club into this massive, massive club," which they are now, and they don't like it because they think it's just like you say, it's come from the Arab nations, and they don't like it. They do not like it. You see how much stick Newcastle are getting because they're coming from the same neck of the woods in Saudi Arabia.
And they've got nothing yet. They've not even been taken over.
Yeah, but look how much stick they were getting on the radio. I was putting TalkSport on every day, and they were getting slated.
Yeah,
and it's wrong.
Exactly. Carl, what was you going to say? We'll come to you in a minute, Chris.
Well, as I watched a funny interview with Klopp the other day, I think it was the embargoed interview press conference, and I think it was Andy Dixon that said, "You said it was a bad day for football. Well, what about Germany and Bundesliga? Is it a bad day when Bayern Munich wins titles every single year?" He couldn't answer the question. I think it was Andy Dixon. Fantastic question about German league and Bayern Munich. How do you explain that? Isn't that bad to have one team dominate the whole league for 8-9 years in a row?
Yeah.
So the hypocrisy smells, and we see it. We know it. We see it, and it's just laughable. And I'm glad this UEFA CAS decision has gone our way, because now we're vindicated. I don't care what they say, cheats or not, we are vindicated, and next year we'll be in the Champions League.
Well, Chris, what do you think? Because I know Graham Souness said something the other day about the FFP being a cartel.
Well, basically, but Souness said that it was protectionism. That's what he called it. I can't knock anything that Graham Souness said. It's my thoughts exactly. He said it's not right to have a cartel. He said there would never been the Blackburn story, and there would never have been the Chelsea story if FFP had existed. He was absolutely right on the Jose and Klopp stuff. Now, Martin, if you can understand what the CAS outcome is, I'm pretty sure Jose understands what the outcome was.
Yep.
And he is doing. Spurs are one of the 8 clubs who have gone against City with their snidey little letters. And he's just, following company policies, and he's putting as bad a spin on something as he possibly can. Same with what's his face with the teeth. You know, they are basically not you, Al. I'm the one with actually don't ever grow a beard. So yeah, I think it's just pathetic. I mean, media. I think as time immemorial, mate. This goes back to before even books were written. There was always the need for a villain and the good guy, and we are the villain at the minute. That's how how they like to portray us. You know, this is just how it is. But sells papers for media to be taking the sides of Liverpool and Manchester United and the big cartel clubs is clickbait. There's no serious journalism. You don't get many Martin Samuels out there who will spell it out exactly as it is. You know, we have to accept that the media are not going to come onto our side. And that is when City need to make the big decision of whether they stop being so nice to them and stopping some of them coming through that door. I mentioned it on the Monday night casting about what was said on the BBC News. I mean, about what William Galliard, his piece, it was just blatant racism. No one's pulled him up about it. Dan Rowan is a dreadful sports correspondent, as far as I'm concerned. He's one of the chief sports correspondents at the BBC. You know, they're supposed to be independent, and they're not. Yeah. I think City need, if this continues, people like Duncan Castles and Miguel Delaney, you know, all those type of people need to be. Yeah, Ian Herbert banned. Alex Ferguson never had a problem with it. He never did interviews for the BBC. You know, he stopped it, and I think that's if it continues, City needed to take a hard line with it.
Well, it's funny because Robbie Savage, who I don't always agree with, you don't always put Robbie Savage at the top of your read list, do I? Let's be honest. No dig on Robbie, but you know, he's not always there with his factual opinions that are correct. But he said today in his column in the Mirror that he's shocked and he's quite disgusted by some of the comments said about City over the last few days. He doesn't understand how people are saying that City, it's bad for football and everything else. And he goes on to talk about what we've done in the community, with our City in the community programme, talks about the stadium, the jobs that we've made, talks about everything. And Adrian Durham as well on TalkSport, who is not always the greatest to listen, but he does talk a little bit of sense about City, one of the few people who do. They said, what's wrong with what City are doing? They're putting money back into football. So when we spend all this money, we're putting it around Europe. So we're giving the team 20, 30 million pounds. They may not have 20 or 30 million pounds. We're putting money into football to help circulate it around.
Oh, Martin, that is the whole thing about, you know, you take it a simple approach like that. Absolutely, there is nothing wrong with it. What we have to consider is that there is that much money in football. That's the
problem, though.
There's the overfed pigs, mate. The Bayern Munichs, the Barcelonas, the Real Madrids, the Liverpools, the Manchester Uniteds, the Arsenals, right? They don't want to take their noses out of that trough, and that is the issue. It's not about you know, City putting money back into it. This is a concerted smear campaign against City, and they will do their damnedest to make sure we get some kind of punishment. And if we don't get punished, mate, they'll come back with something else.
Of course they will.
The proof of that was in the reaction.
Yeah.
You know, the reaction from those clubs, i.e. Jamie Carragher as an example.
Scum.
Yeah. The proof is there. They'll do anything to get rid of us. Anything. And they will smear and brand damage and slight. You know, I'm sure we could, if City wanted to do it, they could sue these people, not on the clubs, these people, for slander for what they've been saying in this last week.
You might have seen me. I'm looking away, and I do apologise. I'm looking for something on my phone which I've been trying to get. The Bayern. We're all saying it's Bayern, PSG and Real Madrid. But it's not. Borussia Dortmund's CEO, chief exec, whatever you want to call him, has come out and said City are wrong to celebrate. There should be no celebration by the fans. But City are not buying players with generated money. They're buying money. They're buying players with money that is not theirs, in essence. Now, some people around Europe do not agree with that. Dortmund are a different, what's the word? Different structure, because they go out and they buy the youth players, all the best youths from around the world, and they sell them on for a huge profit. Now, that's their model. That's fair enough. But that's why Dortmund don't go anywhere in Europe. That's why they don't win the Bundesliga. It's why Bayern Munich have won it 10 times in a row. So for me, the German league's not much better than the Scottish league.
Yeah.
Really?
Worse.
Yeah.
Well, so how people can go on talk, if they're happy with that model, then fair enough to you. But
The German league's worse than the Scottish league, mate.
Yeah.
You know, there's 2 teams in Scotland. There's 1 team in Germany.
Yeah. And I understand Tom's and Ryan's point who come on here and say the German leagues, this, that, and the other. It might be competitive within 5 or 6 clubs in the middle of the league, but that's it. It's the same 2 batting it out. And Bayern Munich go out, and what makes me laugh is Bayern Munich go to Borussia Dortmund, their nearest rivals, and cream off the top. Any decent player at Dortmund, Bayern go straight in and take away anyway.
Before the end of the season. Really.
Exactly.
Well, Martin, in the Bundesliga, right, RB Leipzig, right, they don't like RB Leipzig. You know why? Because there's a rule about 50+1 in Germany that I think the public must own 50% or +1 of the club.
Yeah.
But RB Leipzig were in the 2nd division, the Bundesliga 2, and they got bought up by Red Bull, right? And Red Bull owns the club, and they got promoted, and now they're competing for the top 3. They don't like RB Leipzig because RB Leipzig is similar to what City did.
Yeah,
right?
they're basically on the Manchester City model.
Right. So the people don't like competition. They don't like disruption, right? Even in business, right? Think about the businesses that we know about around the world. They don't like the fact that when a new company comes, a Tesla comes to disrupt Ford or GM, they don't like that. Or when Amazon comes and disrupts your standard brick and mortar businesses, they don't like that. So, but at some point, you become so big that you now become part of the club. And I'm just hoping that when we get there, whether it's 5, 10, 15, 20 years time, we don't become like the cartel clubs of today.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we do. I mean, the one thing I will say, I want to move on. Don't know if anyone. I'll ask you if anyone's got any last points on this. The fans. Now, this isn't me making a cry to everyone or anything else, a war cry of. I'll be honest. I do think it's time for the UEFA boom to stop. I think the way we need to deal with it is doing a Poznan, something like that. We need to do something different. Otherwise, this is just a vicious circle that will go on and on and on. We have to, at some point, just go, right, we're in this competition. We're in it to win it. We have to just get on with it now. And I think that's where I'm proud of Khaldoon, of the olive branch. In a way, I'm not saying it is. Maybe it's a keep your enemies closer, like Alan said, but maybe the olive branch is the way to go. And maybe the fans need to get on board with that a little bit as well.
They will over time, Martin. There's too much. There's too much. There's too much happened in these last 2 years to upset the fans, and they have.
Well,
it's to do with the competition's fans saying what they've been saying and the media what they've been saying. It's very tarnished at the moment, and all these reporters on the radio and people like that are all saying FFP's dead. Blah blah. It's not dead. It never was dead. It never will be dead.
Yep.
Right? FFP's going to still be there. It just needs to be altered and amended towards the debt. I sent every one of you last night a newspaper article from Barcelona, from Spain, where Barcelona have taken, and in the midst of agreeing a loan with Goldman Sachs for 800 million euros. And if you didn't know, to the people that are listening, Barcelona have got 880 million euros in debt, which one will cover the debt, but also, what they're going to do with that, because a lot of it happens to do with the president, because they get presidents elected within their clubs of what he's going to spend, and he's organising this loan for Barcelona, and it's wrong, because that will put, even though they bring enormous amounts of money, like United, like Real Madrid do, 800 million loan, that's bigger than Tottenham's loan for the stadium. That's ridiculous.
Well,
and this is why FFP needs to amend the rules and say, well, all right, if you take a loan out to pay your debt off, that's fine, but until you pay your debt off, you can't go and buy anyone.
The problem is with FFP, and this, you hit the nail on the head, Alan. It doesn't stop debt. It doesn't take debt into account. It goes on to what you generate as a club.
Yeah.
Anything to do with debt. So that's why Man United, Barcelona, Madrid, all these top clubs can have as much debt as they want, but their turnover is huge. So they always will pass FFP.
But I'm going to ask you one question. With COVID happening now, do you think the money is going to be coming in the next 3 years? With families struggling, with the TVs, with TV deals coming down,
Man
and the
United
merchandise
will sell
coming
every
down?
single seat no matter what. Because there's an old joke that we have here in Manchester, and you know it yourself. Chris probably knows it. It's dead shoes, dead man shoes at Man United.
Yeah.
That season ticket is in the name of someone who died 20 years ago, because it just gets passed on and passed on and passed on.
Yeah. Martin, the issue is...
You saw that when the Glazers took over. They all had a boycott. 20,000 people just walked back in again. It's just what it happens. They have that big, unfortunately, that the debt means jack to UEFA.
Yeah, Martin, the issue is that if you amend FFP to include debt, then Real Madrid, Barcelona, Manchester United will fail FFP. They'll fail FFP. So it's not going to happen. Right?
Exactly.
So now UEFA is caught in a conundrum. They can't change it because the cartel clubs have that much debt. If you change the debt to income, you bring debt to income ratio into the calculation, they fail. They just fail.
Exactly.
They just fail. So which is either they sell assets or they sell players or whatever it is to meet FFP regulations, because they can.
Exactly.
So that's kind of where we are at this point in time with FFP. It has to be amended. I don't think they're going to include debt in it at all. It just doesn't help them or suit them going forward. Well, what will happen is that if they do that, then all these cartel clubs will move away to Super League and create their own Super League, like the NFL, where it's a franchise, right? Where nobody gets relegated, nobody gets promoted. You just play, 12 games and that's it for the season. And you declare a champion, you move on.
But that's what the Premier League was meant to be.
Yeah.
When they started the Premier League in '92, it was meant to be a franchise that was coming in and a big money spinner. So,
well, it has been a massive money spinner, isn't it, the whole thing? But
it's changed football to a point where we are today. That's a fact.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, here's the part. I want to ask Chris one point on this. We have to remember, boys, the Premier League's investigation is still open. It's not closed. When they did this investigation in March 2019, when we initially got charged by UEFA, it's still open. The UEFA one's gone. Premier League one's still there.
Yeah, but you'd be hard pressed to think about overturning CAS. CAS is the Court of Arbitration for Sport, right? That's a European body. So
yeah, but the Premier League don't have any of this time barred stuff.
No, they are investigating. Carl, they are investigating it.
Right,
but it's ongoing.
But how do you know that the cheating stuff was time barred? How do you know it's not part of the fact there was no evidence? So I believe in the UK, isn't there a 6 year? Isn't there a 6 year time?
No, not in the Premier League. Not in
the Premier League. What it'd be interesting to see when the full document comes out from the CAS hearing, because that
comes out.
It will.
Well, Carl's made a great point, and I want to ask Chris on this. I've read a tweet tonight. Apparently, there's rumours CAS may not unveil all the evidence because they're bothered now. Apparently, this media backlash this week has caused a big rethink in CAS on whether they're going to release it.
Well,
Or release all of it.
well, I think there's evidence that we want to know where it's come from, and that's where did those? Because apparently they didn't have the emails; they had copies of the emails, didn't they?
Apparently, the evidence that UEFA went in with, I don't know if Carl and Alan, you read this. The only evidence UEFA went into CAS with was the email that the Spiegel leaked.
So
that can't be true. That can't be true.
That was apparently true. They did not have. This is the only rumours. This is what's coming out now. UEFA did not actually have any factual, their own evidence. It was only from the Spiegel. That was it.
So think about this. So a multi-billion euro organization will go to a court to charge a member based on emails that were produced by a stolen hacker that can be manipulated. If that's true, somebody needs to pay a price.
But that's what Gary Neville said. Gary Neville said UEFA's a farce.
Let's
look at it like this. Let's look at this. What does that tell you about the pressure that they were under?
Exactly.
From other sources.
Well,
that just tells me the cartel clubs have forced UEFA to do this, not the other way around.
Yeah. Well, let me ask Chris on this. Chris, what's your opinion?
On what bit, mate?
On the whole thing about if this is true that they literally charged us over a leaked email from the Spiegel, or the Spiegel leaks.
Well, that's exactly where it's come from, isn't it? That is exactly where it's come from.
Apparently, UEFA have no independent evidence of their own.
When the Spiegel printed that is where the investigation came from.
Yeah.
But they haven't. UEFA haven't interviewed Rui Pinto, who's the hacker. You know, and as far as we're aware, they haven't said where or who or why, should I say, Rui Pinto hacked Manchester City. That's the interesting thing for me. I've heard. I don't bring it on here, but there's a rumor. It's come from somewhere. It seems a little bit. I won't go any further on that, but I don't want to start getting the channel in trouble. So,
no thanks.
I think the fact of the matter is, and I totally agree with Alan's just said now, UEFA are in a really difficult position. They've got a group of clubs who do not want Manchester City having any of the pie. They don't want it to happen. And they are threatening UEFA with breakaway leagues. And that is a massive issue for them. They have a big choice to take.
You only have to see the reaction of all of those clubs when we were proved innocent. And that tells me they were right behind it. Tells me big time.
So what we're saying is the tail's wagging the dog.
Correct.
But UEFA need those cartel clubs as well. That's the thing, isn't it? You know, for UEFA to be successful, they need those big clubs there. So that's the issue for City. We are trying to become part of the. You know, I don't think we want to be part of any cartel at all. But I think we want to be on a level playing field, and we're not having that at the minute. But as far as fans of other teams, the playing field's not level because we don't generate our own money. But don't think that teams who are
we do generate money now. We do.
Oh yeah, we do. Yeah, I mean, talking in the past, but I'm talking. Manchester United and Liverpool were formed by rich business people, and in the past, Manchester United had been bailed out by City. You know, when they couldn't pay their players, when they didn't have a stadium to play in, City were there for them, and this is how they've been treated by them. You know, it's.
Well, I mean, Real Madrid and Barcelona didn't the Spanish government bail them out at some point?
Real Madrid definitely have, yeah.
So
but I think they're both seen. I think aren't Real Madrid and Barcelona seen as a sort of like national. I can't remember the word. Institutions. Yeah. Institutions. That's one. So
they're being built out more times than soft neck from the government, and they are.
Yeah. And the car park thing at Real Madrid's a joke, isn't it? What happened there? And where's Senor Tabas about this Barcelona 8 million loan? You know, where is he? Fucking fat.
No, he's too busy doing stuff.
Ridiculous. It's just
These people, like, they are trying to destroy our club, and that's why it upsets me, because this is no disrespect to anybody who's not supported City for a long time. We went through some hard times as fans in the 80s and 90s. Hard times, and we stuck by our club, and we hit the jackpot.
Absolutely.
Proper hit the jackpot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but Chris, the thing is, we know that we've never as a club, and Alan will back up, and even Carl, you probably know this, we've never denied that. We've never turned around and gone, we didn't win the jackpot back in 2008. We've never said we didn't. Yeah. We're not stupid. We know that we got lucky getting an owner like this. We know that. Is it our fault? No. Is it Newcastle turning down a possible multi-billionaire taking over Newcastle? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't do it. And instead of embracing new money, they want to destroy it.
Correct. It's again, Martin. It goes back to, and I'm one of the new fans, so about 12 years now. So when I look at the history, for example, Martin, the new kits, right, with the mosaic. So I spent time hold on. I spent time today actually researching, right, the reason for that. I watched that video. I'm starting to like it. I'm starting to like it. My point is that the club has gone through some difficult times, and then there's no fan base that's more worthy to have this level of investment and success than MCFC.
Yeah.
Right now, is it your fault that you hit the jackpot? No. Could it have been anybody else? Could have been Newcastle, right? Because whatever, it could have been Newcastle.
Of course it could.
It will be.
But we're not denying that. We're not denying it. We're not saying.
Right.
We're honest with it. But it shouldn't be a case where me and Chris are going to Leicester and being spat at.
Martin, I'll tell you why, right? I'll tell you the reason why this has heated up over the past 3 or 4 years, right? You have the best manager in world football playing the best football in the world. Period.
Bang on.
Period.
Yeah, with the best owners in the world.
100%. I wrote an article about a year ago talking about the Red Bull is dead, right? For if Guardiola had gone to the other side of Manchester and coached that club, oh my God, it will be the amount of fanfare and noise you would hear from the media would be unbelievable. Yeah. This is because you've got the best manager, some of the best players, the best facilities, the best owners who are invested in the club and the infrastructure at MCFC. Period. Nothing else.
And in the city as well.
Right?
Yeah,
nothing else.
That's a massive thing, and that's, like you said there earlier on, Martin, is what they have done for the actual city.
Correct.
Is unbelievable, mate. You know, and I have no love for Manchester United, but I think the way they're run is a disgrace, and the United fans don't deserve it. They don't deserve to have owners like that. No football fans deserve to have owners like that.
Well, the thing that makes me laugh, Carl, Alan, Chris, Gilada, we don't go around saying we're bigger than United. We don't go around saying we're bigger than Liverpool. We've never ever quoted that once.
Well, it's just my dick's bigger than your dick. It don't mean nothing, does it? You know what I mean?
All we're doing is we're riding a wave of success at the moment. Deserved, in our opinion, because we went through some shit times. Fact.
As I tell my mates, we've earned the right to enjoy this. We've earned the right to enjoy it.
We were winning titles 50, 60 years ago. We were winning cups. We were winning everything. You know, but people forget that. You speak to a lot of people and think football began in 1992.
Mark, we were a good team in the 70s. We were a very good team in the 70s, you know.
Do you know what people say to me? You throw to me the Leicester example, and I was talking to Chris the other day, Carl and Alan, about this. And he said to me, I get told, you need to look at Leicester. They won the title the right way. Well, there's a little fact for everyone out there. Leicester City failed
FP.
FP.
Yeah.
They got fined. The reason they didn't get done because they were in the Championship at the time, but to get into the Premier League, they failed FFP.
Right.
So did Leicester really do it the right way?
Right.
Because they didn't do it the right way to get into the Premier League. So kiss my rear end. That Leicester did it.
No, thank you.
But the thing is, Martin,
If I ever hear Leicester did it the right way, I like Leicester as a football team. Not a problem with it. But don't give me the crap that they won it the right way, because you failed FFP to get in the damn Premier League in the first place. So again, give me facts.
Martin, there is no right way. There is no right. There is no wrong way to win the league.
You know, Jack Walker, God rest his soul. Are you telling me, you know, he'd be rolling in his grave right now, sat there going, you know, they spent 5 million on whatever it was on Sutton and Shearer and everyone else, and Colin Hendry and everyone else they got out. Did they do it the right way? There isn't, like Chris said, there is no right way.
So yesterday, Martin, a friend of mine who Chelsea fan sent me a chart that showed net spend, right? Net spend. I had City on top at 601. Net spend over the past 5 years, 601 million pounds on top. City on top. At the bottom was Norwich at 25 million. He's trying to make an argument about net spend. I said to him, you know, that net spend is actually a fake stat. You know why? What it tells you is that a club, a quote unquote small club in their eyes, is not selling the best players. Meanwhile, the big clubs are selling the best players. So who's actually the small and the big club? So net spend is a fallacy. It's an illusion.
But it also doesn't take into account the 55 million we made on youth product players that we sold on.
Correct.
So we bring in money other ways than that.
Exactly. And the thing is, maybe that's why the Sané sale hurt, because that was the first big player in.
Right.
That was how long to walk out the door. We're not used to it anymore.
I mean, think about it. If you're a business and you don't sell your assets, you're a pretty good business. Of course, you're selling your assets to make revenue. You have a problem.
Yeah. I mean, guys, I'm going to stop us there. We can talk till we're blue in the face about this. That was great. I think we could do this 3, 4, 5 hours, but I don't want to. What we're going to do is, I was going to do this in 2 parts. We're going to have to do it in 3.
Can I just say one thing, Martin? And this is the message to the fans out there, the fans of other clubs who are always defaming us, and the same as the media do it as well. You'll never stop any one of us from stop being proud of our club. Every single one of us are proud of Manchester City. No matter what you fuckers say, right? Yeah, we are proud of our club.
You can see I got a little bit heated at the end because, like Chris said, we are proud. We don't. You can say whatever you want. You will not change our opinions. That's the way we are. You know, a lot of us were there in '99. We'll be there again. You know, if it is 20 years when we become the next Liverpool United, I'll be what? 42 Dead. By then. I'll be 42 by then. So,
yeah, right.
How old I am.
All I'll say is there's 2 words that describe their reaction: bitter and jealous.
Yeah, exactly. But guys, part 2, we were going to talk about UEFA, CAS, everything to do with Khaldoon's meeting on Monday, and then we were going to talk about transfers, but that went into a really, really deep and really good discussion. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this into a 3-parter. Part 3, we're going to talk about transfers, and apparently there's rumours that City are on the verge of buying their first player of the new transfer window. So go back and have a look at part 1, where we talk about Bournemouth, the Bournemouth win in our review. Talk about Saturday's, well, it will be Saturday's game now, today's game, in the semi-final down at the Etihad South against Arsenal. Part 2, we talked all about UEFA and Khaldoon's meeting and how the media is against Manchester City and our fans and everything else. And some of us got a little bit heated in our response, which is nothing wrong with here on Man City Fan TV. We do like that. So what we'll do, guys, we'll make this a 3-parter because we all know you'll love it. We'll see you soon. And as always, up the Blues.